Hi, this is Anna London with Divergence, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about procrastination, right? But some ways to overcome procrastination. Procrastination is really not a time management problem, okay? It's really likely due to difficulty managing negative feelings like boredom or anxiety, okay? And with mental health, on the rise, right? There's a lot of folks with anxiety. So, despite what people think, okay, and I know everybody has to-do lists or what have you, and then you feel bad if you don't get through those to-do lists, right? But let's talk about some ways to overcome those barriers because avoiding negative emotions, right, and important tasks, right, tends to lead to much worse outcomes in the long run, including more stress and regret as well, right? So changing your mindset, right, rewarding yourself for progress and letting go of perfectionism can all help you overcome procrastinating tendencies. We've all put off a task at some point in our lives. Let's be real, okay? Nobody is immune from procrastination, okay? There's a lot. So you may put off something, but some people view it as laziness. However, there might be something else at play. And so I wanted to kind of dissect that a little bit in this podcast. In psychology, okay, it's really has been long believed that people who procrastinate have a faulty sense of time and that they think they will have more time to get something done than they actually do. Okay, so while that may be true for some people, more recent research suggests that procrastination is linked to difficulty managing distress. Yes, distress. So more specifically, okay, it seems that task aversion is to blame, okay? And that is when people view a task in an unpleasant manner, it'll be tough, boring, painful, it's too much, right? They're likely to put it off. But, while procrastinators may be trying to avoid distress, this approach can ironically cause more distress in the long run, right? Don't you agree? Procrastination, of course, can lead to increased stress, right? Health problems and poor performance. Procrastinators tend to have more sleep issues and experience greater stressful regret than non-procrastinators, right? And procrastination can also hinder your self-esteem with the guilt, the shame, your self-critical thoughts, that can result from putting off those tasks. If you struggle with putting things off, I'm going to talk about some tips that we can get ourselves back on track. So the first one is get rid of catastrophizing. I think I said that correctly. I don't even know what English anymore is. It's my native language, but you wouldn't know it anymore. I think we all speak in acronyms and emojis. So proper grammar and etiquette and what have you has really gone out the window. So please forgive me. One of the biggest reasons, though, people procrastinate, in all due fairness, is because they, catastrophize, right? Catastrophize. There we go. Catastrophize. If I can even spit that out tonight. Or you make a, huge deal out of something, right? It may be related to how tough or how boring or how painful it will be to complete the task. Whatever the case, the underlying theme is that doing the task will be, or seems to be, unbearable at that time. But, in reality, challenges, boredom, and hard work will not kill you, okay, or even make you sick. Procrastination, on the other hand, is associated, though, with stress. So think of the stress you feel when you avoid making a phone call you need to make, right? So keep things in perspective, or at least try. So, sure, this is not my favorite task, but I can get through it, right? So, give yourself, a little push there. And then the next recommendation, right? The next tip is focus on your why. Procrastinators focus more on short-term gains, avoiding the distress associated with the task as opposed to the long-term results. That stress of not doing it, as well as the consequences of avoiding this task. So instead, how about try focusing on what you are doing or why you are doing this task? What are the benefits of completing it? If you've been putting off cleaning out a closet, for instance, imagine walking into a closet when it is decluttered, and boy, how good that would feel, right? And consider how much money you will make by selling those items on eBay, or how those, in need, for instance, will feel when they receive some items as donations, right? Clothes, shoes, whatever it is, right? And if it's an exercise program that you've been avoiding, yes, for all of you that have those, the New Year's resolutions that haven't even started on your exercise program, right? Good in thought, but a lot of people don't follow through, But let's focus on how exercising will help us have more positive energy, right? Give us a boost of self-esteem and serve as a great role model for our children, right? Longer health, etc., right? Get out your calendar too. That's the next tip we're going to discuss. Projects that will get done when I have the time, as in I will do it when I have the time, tend to not get done at all. If you need to schedule, when you are going to work on a project and block out that time, you're going to do it. You're 9 times out of 10, you're going to do it, right? Because when you have actually a tangible date in which to work towards, for instance, I tell my students, right? So, go and acquire your industry certifications, but I tell them also get on the proctored exam list, right? So because many students will say, oh, I'll get the industry exam, let's just say fall of 2024. Okay, but if they don't write the date down, they're not accountable to it, right? Family, life, everything gets in the way. And then by the time fall 2024 rolls around, they say, well, wait, oh man, I missed it. I was supposed to get my Security Plus certification, right? I was supposed to take the exam, fall 2024, and that came and gone, right? So putting a tangible date gives you a goal in which to aspire to meet, right? And it'll be that much more capable than of meeting it with a tangible goal, with a tangible estimated completion date, okay? To hold yourself accountable. And also, tag up with other people too for accountability, right? Whether it's weight loss, whether it be certificate study sessions, etc., right? So you can hold each other accountable, and when it is time to do your work too, set out a timer so you can be focused for the entire allotted time, right? Time block it, okay? Time block it. Block out that time, okay? You need to schedule when you're going to work on a project, okay? You need to block out that time just as you would an important meeting, okay? Think of it in that perspective. Right? We all think we can multitask, but honestly, if you ever take a psych class, they'll tell you that's not in the human nature, human dichotomy, the human mind, okay, as much as we like to love our brains and we're narcissistic and think we can do it all, even as moms, right? Really, honestly, what ends up happening, though, is you end up stressing yourself out. There's no way to dedicate 100% of your time at that moment to everything. You're spread too thin. And so things are going to drop, mistakes are going to be made, right? It's just human nature. We're not perfect. We're not robots, okay, right? So, and that then segues into the next tip, which is be realistic. Because as you establish your schedule, then you can set yourself up for success, okay? Fail to plan to fail, right? That old adage, right? Projects often take much longer than expected, so bake in some extra time too. Give yourself a little buffer, right, on the front end and the back end of it. Look for ways to make it easier on yourself too. So, for example, if you're not a morning person, okay, then don't expect yourself to get up an hour early to start the exercise program you've been putting off for months. Yeah, it's not going to happen, right? It might be better to schedule that activity then during lunch or before dinner, right? The next tip I'm going to talk about is chunk it. Yes, I said chunk it. So CHUNK, okay, chunk it. So when a task seems overbearing, procrastination then inevitably follows, right? So how can we then break that task into smaller, more manageable parts? So for example, if we want to write a book, we may choose to make an outline, identify each chapter, then figure out the sections in the chapter, and then commit to writing one segment at a time. So chunking it down, in more agile style, right, will help you feel less overwhelmed and more empowered, right? The next tip is excuses be gone. Yes, I said that. Do any of these sound familiar? Yeah, I need to be in the mood. I will wait until I have time. I work better under pressure. I need, this to happen before I can start, I've just got too much on my plate. I've got, my kids, my life, my this, my that, blah, 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 blah. Stop it. Just stop it. Be honest with yourself. These are excuses, okay? These are excuses. You're only hurting yourself. It might be nice to be in the mood, for instance, but waiting for that to happen can mean you never start your project at all, right? So forget the excuses, right? Stop it. The next tip is get a partner, right? The accountability partner, like I was mentioning earlier. So establish specific deadlines for completing that task, right? And then find someone who will help you be accountable, okay? It could be a promise to your boss or client, right? That you'll complete the job by a certain date, okay? Or it may be a coach who helps you stay on track, okay? Or simply find an accountability partner, for instance, a study group or study partner that can help you study for your Security Plus, your CISPs, your CISAs, right? All those things, CEHs and stuff, right? And at certain time intervals, right, you can meet maybe once a week, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, whatever, right? And then commit to what you will do before your next meeting, right? Have some action items and next steps and have an agenda. Because not wanting to go back on your word, then this can be a great way to squash procrastination. Okay, if you've made, though, procrastination a habit, okay, an habitual type of lifelong habit, then it's going to be very hard to break. But over time that you can, if you put these actions into place. So, look, in an effort to save your relationships with your significant other, okay, for those of you that have them, I do recommend this person not be your partner, okay, because you don't want a lack of follow through to cause tension between you or resentment or whatever, right? So the next tip is optimize your environment. So your environment can help or hinder your productivity. So beware especially of technology like your email or messenger that keeps pinging you, right, to let you know someone has reached out. Social media, internet, research, that leads you far off track, right, down a rabbit hole you didn't really intend to go to. And phone calls, of course, can all lead to the inevitable procrastination, okay, quagmire. So try this. During your scheduled block of time we discussed earlier for working on that particular task, close your email and IM. Turn off your phone. Yes, I said that. Or at least set it on do not disturb. And put it out of sight, out of sight, out of mind. Don't let yourself get on the web until you have completed that task. Or hold off any necessary internet searches until the end, right? The next tip is reward your good behavior. Reward yourself. So establish a reward if, though, and only if you do what you set out to do, okay? Do not let yourself binge that new Netflix show or check your social media or sit in X spaces all day, okay? Or get lunch until you complete what you have, of course, scheduled, right? So instead of using these tasks and distractions to procrastinate, make them contingent on you actually finishing what you schedule yourself to do, okay? The next tip is forgive yourself. Yes, forgive yourself. I know that's hard to do, okay? Stop beating yourself up, though, about the past. Thoughts such as I should have started earlier, or I always procrastinate, or I'm such a loser, right? Or I'm such a failure, right? Will only make matters worse. Research shows that forgiving yourself for past procrastination will help you stop putting off working on a task. Let's just say, you're trying to eat healthy and then you accidentally binge on something. Okay, you binged, boom, done, move on, okay? Forgive yourself for it and then move on, okay? Don't just think, I binged, so I failed my whole diet, so now I can just binge, I can just go back to my old self. No, you made a mistake. We're human, okay? Everybody makes mistakes, right? So just, admit that you made the mistake, forgive yourself, and move on, okay? You can also try to use past procrastination to your advantage as well. How, we ask? So let's determine what went into your avoidance, for instance, that fear, the stress, not having a good understanding of how to progress, lack of accountability, etc., etc., etc. You can journal too. So write all the journal down too. What was the trigger, right, to that procrastination? How were you feeling, right, and what have you, before, during, and after, right? And hone in on that. And then you can address those obstacles in the present and the future. So if, for example, it was the fear, right, that contributed to your procrastination, then what steps then could you take to feel more empowered and less fearful next time around, right? The next and final tip is drop the perfectionism. All my students and interns will tell you perfectionism is a killer, okay? It stagnates you, okay? Perfectionism, is an all or nothing mentality. Okay, that's the problem. I'm not saying that we should minimize or exchange, okay, drop perfectionism. You should have quality in your work, okay, in your deliverables and things like that. So that's different, okay, than perfectionism, because that's all or nothing. Something is either perfect or it's a failure, okay, with that mentality. And people with perfectionistic tendencies tend to wait until things are perfect, okay, in order to proceed. So for instance, if it's not perfect, you cannot be finished, right? Or if it's not the perfect time, you believe you can't start, right? So this all or nothing mentality can hold you back from starting or completing tasks, okay? So instead, perfectionism is a very paralyzing type of mindset, okay? And that's the point of this, okay? So, but instead though, you can focus on being better than perfect. So what that means is to still strive for excellence, creating excellence, quality, setting yourself up with excellent conditions, but at the same time, you focus on getting the job done. Done is better than perfect, okay? Quality though, because you don't want to half step it, right? So that's the difference, okay? Make that someday, I'm going to do it someday, make someday today, right now. And you can follow some of these tips to get started on your project, your task, your goal, your dream, and be very proud of every bit of progress you make along the way, right? And it is true. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey instead of the destination, right? Enjoy your journey on your way to that destination. And everybody's journey and everybody's road and path to get there is different, okay? It's different. So don't judge your progress by somebody else's measuring stick, right? So anyways, I hope this was helpful. I do hope it was helpful. It was helpful for me too, because I'm always researching on how best I can, deal with stress, anxiety, and anything, and not putting things off too, because I am also guilty of procrastination too. I mean, I'm not perfect, right? I'm not perfect at all. I dive into many things, but some things I do procrastinate. So, trying to look into the root cause, right? And instead of doing the Band-Aid approach, right? Just, put a Band-Aid approach on the symptoms. Okay, I wanted to go into the root cause of the behavior altogether and see how best we can overcome it. And whenever I find something, a golden nugget of knowledge anyway, because I'm always reading things, I'm always researching things, I'm always analyzing things, I just like to pay it forward, right? For anybody else that may, it may be in need of some of this advice in this area, right? I have a lot of students and a lot of interns, right? A lot of people in my life, family, friends, and otherwise, that we're all guilty of procrastination, let's be real. So look, let's stop putting things off. Let's make someday today, okay? That's all I'm going to say. All right, so with that said, this is Anna London with Cyvergence, signing out.